I am Yahweh. I am your Elohim. I am the one that brought you out of Egypt. I'm the one who brought you out of Mitzrayim. He says, there are no other ones against my face. There are no other ones that can stand up to me. And I think that whole in my face, against my face thing has to do with the idea that he made a mockery and showed without a shadow of a doubt that all of the pagan gods of Egypt had no power. And so that's what he's saying here in this verse. He's saying, look, I think I've shown you that you should not have any other mighty ones in my face by saying, oh, like my God's better than your God. Like saying my dad's better, beat up your dad or something. He's like, I've already showed you that there are none like me. He's saying now, he says, so don't make yourself any images of anything thinking that that's the way to do things. I've already shown you that I don't like that. That's not the way we do things. I made a mockery of all things carved and molded and made by the hands of man. If you're going to claim to be a child of the living Elohim, you're going to wear your tzitziot, you're going to wear your tzitzit on your clothes, and then you're going to go into a store on Shabbat and buy something, you've rendered that claim to mean, you've ruined it, first of all, and you've rendered it to mean nothing. It's empty. It's an empty thing. It's an empty claim. So if you're going to claim something and walk contrary to what that claim stands for, you're basically going to ruin it or make it an empty claim. This is what we're talking about here, not some magical, oops, I said the name. Because if you read your Torah portions every year, you're going to read about a lot of pagan deities. Their names are mentioned. The Baals are mentioned. And so you're going to read those names. Did you sin by doing so? No. Not unless you are marking them to be remembered so that you can obey them. That would be the problem. Because you need to be only marking and remembering and obeying one. And that's the name above all names. How should you be treating the one who's leading your group? Well, first, you may want to be able to discern, is this one that is leading your group, does he have Yahweh's authority? And we're going to talk about that in future teachings about how we'll deal with that whole idea. But if you have concluded the answer is yes, then you better act accordingly toward that person no matter how bad he becomes. I personally have been a part of an assembly where they were way too quick, I think, to throw people out, so to speak, over nothing. But there are things where we need to draw very strong lines. He says here in verse 33, he says, let them not dwell in your land. So we shouldn't let them be in our midst. But also when we go back into verse 24, he says, do not bow down to their mighty ones or serve them. He says, but without fail overthrow them and without fail break down their pillars. Now that's not for you to go in your friends' houses and break down their stuff. Look at how serious Yahweh is. He says, look, anyone who does these things needs to be taken outside of the camp and stoned. Now bear in mind, we don't do this today. Why? Not because the law was done away with, because it's required to be done when there's a camp. And when there's a camp, there would be proper leadership, authority, laws, structure, governance, and a body to make the judgment. Because notice this person was not just taken out and stoned, he was brought to Moses. And then there was put under the guard. And then there was an investigation, although it doesn't discuss that very much in detail. And then this person was brought to, well, actually, the investigation was he went right to Yahweh and asked Yahweh what to do. And Yahweh said, take him out and stone him. So when people say, oh, well, if you're going to keep the law, then how come you don't go out and stone people anymore? Because that had guidelines and parameters linked to it. There's jurisdiction. There's other things that we need to understand linked to implementing a law. And I think that maybe some of us are much more concerned with what's the least I can do than worried about, is what I'm doing protecting his authority and his reputation? Am I representing him in a way that protects his reputation? Because I know all of you have been either a part of a family or have had your own children. And at some point, as you were either a child or had children, you know what it's like to have either others in the family or children of your own do something that brought embarrassment to your name. Your children didn't understand that what they do reflects on you. All the blessings in abundance, and we're going to read about that at some point in Deuteronomy chapter 28. I don't know if we're going to get there today, But all the blessings, etc., come out of guarding and obeying, guarding and doing. He says, look, I want you to do these things because, well, let's read it again. And you shall hear, O Israel, and shall guard to do, that it may be a struggle and burden to you that even your forefathers couldn't handle. It doesn't say that. It says, doing it so that it might be well with you and that you increase. Oh, but Christianity today has actually turned it to the point where doing these things is somehow now wrong and evil. I love the way they say it, though. They go, oh, you're not getting me to go back under the law. I said, you can't. They go, what do you mean I can't? I said, you can't go back to something you never did. Okay, you can't go back under. Now, you could choose to go under. You can go and choose to be submissive to. But if you've never done it, you can't go back to something you've never done.